one of the first like self-help books. I've always been into that since I was young, and one of the first ones I picked up, I was about 18 years old, is a Tony Robbins book, right? And he's talking about all these successful people from all walks of life, and he said, what's the one thing that all these people have in common? And I'm like sitting here thinking, like, what do they have? You know, like I don't know. And what he said was they all have an extraordinary psychology. So it's their mental game. It's their mentality that sets them apart from the difference. And if you have a self-awareness of what you're doing while you're on top of that, that's a whole nother level. And the physicality of it too, right? You've got Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours. You can you can have all the talent in the world, but the person who outworks everyone else and has the mentality that to keep on going and persevere and do whatever it takes, that's the person that's going to succeed through and through to the end, you know? And I think what you're saying is so, it's good for people to hear, you know, because you can be great at something naturally. But for you, was that something that came naturally in your life, that just from the way you grew up and being in sports and having the regimen and all that stuff, or is it something that you've also outwardly seeked, or are you just like all in, all around? You know what I mean?
I think I've always had, since I was little, a very aware spirit just of people. Like I could always walk in a room and have a real good feel for exactly like how people are, who they are, what they're about. Always just like crazy, just natural. I could pick people out in the room and tell you like, this dude's a good friend. Like she would be she's not a good friend. Like this person, like I could just feel like how people are when I walk in a room. And I've always been that way. I can sit in a restaurant and I'm one of those people like, I'm not as worried about our conversation. Like I love to kind of get a feel for everyone around me.
Yeah. Me too.
Because I'm just like almost like a protective dog. Like when I'm with my people, my mood can change instantly in a dinner because I feel like somebody beside us is like not somebody I'm cool with, or I don't feel like that. I feel like they're being disrespectful to somebody I'm with. So like I all of a sudden went out of like fun mode and now I'm like in like protective dog mode, right? So like I'm very much that way. Like I'm a watchdog in that sense. And so I'm always kind of the person listening, not necessarily talking when I'm at dinner or when I'm doing things with people, like training, everything else. I got my trainer will joke all the time, like I probably spoke to him once when we work out ever. Like don't talk to me while we're training. Like I'm here to work. But I'm also observing at the same time. And so like I've always naturally had that. But as a kid, I was a pretty lonely kid. Like I always wanted to kind of be by myself in that sense. I had some buddies I grew up with, but I was always like not really the person looking for attention and those kind of things. I was more paying attention to the rooms I was in. But I wasn't like driven with work ethic and all those things. I wasn't that. I was kind of just naturally a pretty good athlete at things. Like I played tennis, I played basketball, I powerlifted, I played football, I did track, I played baseball. Like I did it all growing up. Wow. And had some, version of success at all of them. I was pretty good at, for a big, taller guy, I was a really good athlete. And so that kind of always came natural, but I never had the work ethic to go with it. And then when I got in the league, I always say I stayed healthy long enough to realize, wow, I could change my life, my family's life, people around me's life. Like if I apply myself to this game. And I was always tough. Like you were never going to break me down when I was younger. I was always naturally tough. I just didn't have this like diligent work ethic to fix things all the time. And I think I stayed healthy long enough to develop that and work on it. And I changed that part of me. And so I was a different dude, like in the sense of, you think about NFL off seasons, guys usually have a place they train or a trainer they train with. For me, my first 11 years, I played in Cincinnati, Ohio with the Bengals. And in the off seasons, I lived in Louisiana. My wife and I lived in Louisiana, and that's where we were going to raise our kids. So we flipped back and forth every 6 months. Well, I didn't have like a facility. So I would either like every year was kind of different. Some years I'd go train at like a CrossFit gym and like just like with local, just people hanging out in a CrossFit gym, getting after it, right? Just trying to crush myself. Like one year I hired like a swimming coach. And I tried to do like Olympic swimming stuff. Like I was just trying to do like workouts. Like I wanted to like just see how good I could get at swimming. I was horrific at it, by the way. Bad. My buoyancy's not good. Let's just put it that way. I'm swimming up, not across.
That's hilarious.
But then like other years, I got into MMA. I went into, I did almost everything every year. I would like, hey man, what's a new challenge? Like distance running, anything. Every year I took on a new challenge, and that's how I trained in the off season. So I wasn't some like guy who like lifted a lot of weights. I just, I would lift a weight if that was the challenge that year, and so I would really wait till I was back with the team to do their regimen. But in the off season, I took it as like, what's something new I can become really good at? So that helped me develop that work ethic because I started checking into different energy systems. And like you land, like I always tell people, like I ran 110s in college, they were brutal. I always say, listen, you could be on your 16th 110 on jiu-jitsu, and you're on the back, your back on a mat, and some dude's forearms in your face, crushing your like fractal bone, like facial bones. Yeah. And it's like, all right, you feel like you ran your 16th 110, and now you're like trying to tell yourself just tap and end it. So you're going to these places you never thought you'd ever go in your mind and your will, right? And so I just, those kind of things, I did enough exploring that I found parts of me that I didn't know existed.
Wow.
You know, and that kind of changed. And it's almost like every year after I do one of those experiences, my threshold for pain, my threshold for conditioning, my threshold for like what's hard work kept changing with it. You know, and it's like I'm learning all these new things, these new athletic movements, new traits, new skills. And that's really what helps me be now where I am, where I'm 42. I still go work out with like the Rams O-line sometimes. I play golf. I do everything awesome. Like, you know, and it's like sometimes I feel guilty when people are like, dude, how do you feel? I'm like, honestly, I feel pretty freaking good.
That's awesome.
You know, but it's like I really credit it to my like curiousness to like, hey, I want to go explore new things to learn how to be good at.
Is that something you're encouraging in younger players that you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest problems we have today is all this specialization of sports. I mean, you know, these young youth athletes, it's like they hit, you know, all they do is play baseball every day of the week, and they're traveling every weekend, and they're throwing 10,000 pitches, and they're 12, you know, and it's you look at the elbow issues, the shoulder issues that these kids have. It's, man, go learn some other skill. Like, you're going to get to be an even better athlete, even if it is baseball that you want to go play. If you can learn all these other skills, and think about what athletics is. It's learning a skill and getting your body to do what you want your body to do when you want it to do it, and the timing with which you want to do it. Like, when does that not pay off in any sport? So if you continue to redefine your ability to make your body do those things, then to me, you're only becoming an extremely better athlete, because you can do all these skills and they all apply. Like, I teach offensive line play. I show guys a lot of different things you do like in a different sport, and go, hey, have you ever played defense in basketball? Like, do you know what it's like to defend the goal? Okay, like that's what a quarterback is. The goal's the rim, right? So you're defending the quarterback, he's the rim. Like, what do you have to do to make them run around and have to go out of bounds to get to the quarterback? Like, how would you move your feet? How would you adjust your body? Like, what's the angle of attack that the guy's taking with the basketball that's no different with a pass rusher? Right? And so, that, like, to me, learning those different things, like there's different skills, and maybe you don't know which one will trigger a guy's mind and go, oh, that makes sense. I've done that before. And it's like, bam, now they find that thing that makes them better. And so to me, like when you're teaching or coaching, to be able to have athletes that have an understanding of all these different things, I mean, I think that's one of the things that's so awesome.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed the video.
And subscribe and hit the bell for a whole lot more to come.